Everyone, today we'll be discussing about the concept of web addresses, which is nothing but your uniform resource locator. Okay, the mainly as the meaning says, what is the meaning of uniform resource locator is nothing but a format in which I have to find your location where the file is said to be present. That is said to be your URL. Okay, so let's discuss the whole concept of URL through the help of examples. Okay, let's check out. So next, when we are said to be discussing URL, what is a URL? Mainly, you all know in a system, its system consists of different types of files. It may be in one system or it may be in multiple systems. But all the data which is said to be accessed, it is from the servers where the information is being accessed. You can say a web server from which you are said to be accessing the information. Okay, remember, it's nothing but a World Wide Web. The www, it consists of a lot of files which are said to be executed. Okay, those files are said to be fetched by any other system which is said to be located on a server. That is said to be your URL. So how these files are accessed is nothing but you have a hyperlink. You all know hyperlink. What does it do? Is it moves from one part to another part. That is said to be a hyperlink. Okay, hypertext link. I give a text. Through that text, you can link to different file. Okay, that is said to be your URL. Okay, the address, it is used to locate. Mainly, you can say the main definition of an URL, it can be written as it's an address. It is used to locate the files are called as the web addresses. Addresses which are used to locate the files is nothing but your web address or a uniform resource locator. Okay, this file is said to be located and it is said to be sent to some other destination from wherever it is said to be accessed. Okay, it uses a identification number or identification file through which you are said to be accessing the file. Okay, this is said to be a URL. Remember, it's an address. Through that address, you are said to be linking to a particular file. For example, in Google, if you type something and you are said to be accessing one web page when you write certain text and it is moving to some other part where you can fetch the different kinds of files which are said to be listed in front of you. That is nothing but your URL. Okay, the uses of URL next you will be learning is nothing but, okay, URL mainly it is nothing but a hop from one web page to another web page. That is called as your URL. Okay, when you are said to be typing any of the text over any of the browsers which you may be using, when you are typing it, that text it will move to some other part. You are requesting something and you are said to be accessing somewhere else which is said to be present in that particular web server and you are said to be accessing that particular file. And remember, this URL is said to be unique. It doesn't have the same concept everywhere. That it is said to be unique. If you give something, it may be listed with different types of elements. So it is said to be a unique one which is being provided by the URL. Okay, so how the URL works is, okay, you are said to be a client. For example, you are a client and you are said to be accessing the file which is said to be present on a server. Okay, you request for something and that server it will present with certain page in front of you. That is said to be a working of the URL. You are asking the server about something and the server is said to be just displaying the thing onto the system. That is said to be the working of an URL. Okay, then mainly the structure of the URL consists of various parts. You can check out here the structure which is said to be considered. This is said to be your whole structure of the file which you want to access. So how do you access this? First you give the HTTP, it's nothing but hypertext transfer protocol. This particular protocol it will transfer or divert to certain page, different pages it will divert it. That is said to be your HTTP. Then you have www.domainname.com. It's nothing but I want to access that particular file which is said to be present on certain domain. Okay, I may be accessing one educational site, so you give it as www.rcu.in. Okay, your RCU is nothing but your domain name. Okay, remember that domain name it specifies the particular host server name. You can see. Okay, and another part which is there, okay, in this server I want to access the syllabus part, so which is present in one of the folder, so it gives that particular folder name which is being presented, which is also a part of a structure. Then you have a web page file name.html. Okay, now folder is present of the syllabus. Now in that syllabus I want to access another file with certain name. Okay, for example, I want to have the syllabus of certain subject only, which is nothing but a web page, whichever file name you are specifying, you specify the file name and you have the extension at the end dot html. It may be html or any other format, or you give a .com or you give a .in, which is nothing but the extension of each and every file which is said to be accessed through that particular part. Okay, so this is the structure of the whole URL. You have HTTP, you can check out, you have HTTP, you have the domain name, then you have the folder name, sorry, then you have the folder name, then you have file name, then you have the extension name, that is HTML or any other file. Okay, the main services, you can say, the whole bigger format which is said to be there, that bigger format is being specified in a shorter way. Okay, whichever file name, okay, you want to access whole lot of things in a RCU website. Okay, whole lot of things when you are accessing, you just give a smaller format, that is rcu.in. It will go to that institution's website, it will display all the things, whatever is said to be necessary. Only thing is that you just click on that particular file. So when you click on that file, it will divert to certain other page. Okay, like this, it is the service of your, it is the service of your whole URL, that it will be diverting each and every time when you give certain domain name. Through that domain name, it will be moving from one part to another part. So that domain name can be a shorter name also. So the service of the URL is nothing but, when I want to access certain smaller things, like bigger things, that bigger things can be accessed through a smaller name. That is said to be the whole part of an URL which provides the service for you to access in a smaller way. For example, as I said, www.rcu.in, or it may be www.google.com. When you give Google, in Google you may be searching many aspects, but you give a shorter name, Google. So like this, a shorter name which will be specifying the multiple things, multiple web pages, links it will be providing. Okay, this is the part of the URL which you have learned. What is URL, working of URL, then you have structure of URL and the uses, you can say, and the services of URL. Okay, so next you will be learning about the MIME. MIME, it's nothing but, the whole extension says what? It's the extension, it is nothing but, you are said to be having the extension multi-purpose internet mail extension. Okay, when you have a mail extension format, you want certain extension format, then it is said to be the help of the MIME, the extension it will be given. Okay, this MIME messages, it will be consisting of different types. It may be having a text, images, audio, video, and other applications. It may be of any of the format, PDF format or any other format. What it is used for, mainly it is used in the format of the internet, where it makes the messages richer. Okay, you can see a smaller document, like for example a word, can be specified in the format of PDF, which is nothing but a richer way of accepting and displaying it. Okay, I want to exchange the information through the help of a concept which has a format. Okay, then you are said to be using that whole format in your text through the help of a MIME. Okay, it may be using a concept of RFC, request for comment. Okay, whenever information is being accessed, whenever it is said to be like transferred, it will be observing with certain format, that is said to be the requesting for a standard format. Okay, this is the used for the purpose where you have a richer text with it has its own format of how it is being displayed onto a screen. Okay, then MIME format, it has various formats. It may be that format, it may be having the type and the subtype which is being mentioned. Your parameters is nothing but whichever parameters which you are said to be using. So that type and the extension, for example, you have a text type which is said to be given as extension as txt, application or Excel file, it is XLS. Then you have a PDF which is said to be extended with PDF. text or a HTML file, it may be a HTML format or a HTML format. Then you have a cascaded style sheet which is in the CSS format. All these are there in the formats of a MIME. In future classes you will be learning about all those concepts, how it runs, everything and all. But how this MIME works, mainly this MIME, it will be presenting the content type. The whole header, it will be consisting of the content type. That content may be in the format of the HTTP, where it has the response of the whole file. Whole response of the file, it can have the various formats. This is the format which is being given. So how it is used is only you give the content, what type it is, and what character type it is said to be using. It may be ASCII, it may be EBCDIC type, or any of the text plain type it is said to be considered. Okay. Whereas it supports different types of languages here. When you consider MIME, it may be using different types of languages. Okay, in the content, whichever content you are using, when you write any of the messages within a program, it may be any kind, any of the programs. When you are said to be writing, you may be writing an email, you may be creating a program, you may be displaying something, you may be receiving the data. All those may be using certain language. That is nothing but some of the format is ASCII format which may be used. Okay, each and every data it is said to be using one or the other format. Your ASCII format, which is a German type, which is being used. Your representation of the language, it may be in the ASCII type. One data, it may be using a different formats of representation within the system. So it supports the ASCII, it may be EBCDIC or any other different languages. In this MIME, you will be having a concept called as encoding. Okay, whole your data which is said to be present, okay, whichever it is said to be packaged, everything it will be packaged in the format of binary format. Okay, whatever data you consider, it will be in the format of binary format which is said to be present over the system. Okay, it will be using a base64 binary encoding. What is encoding? I will tell you. Okay, everything it will be changing into certain format which is not understandable by a normal person or a person who is said to be hacking it. So that important thing is that each and every data is said to be encoded in a format which is said to be understandable by the system, not the mainly the hacker. Some of the people will be there who can understand it. Those who are well versed, those who are said to be having the language specific things which they have learned earlier only, those people can understand this encoding part. Okay, this encoding, mainly the standard protocol which is being used is the SMTP, that is simple mail transfer protocol, which uses it. And this mainly encoding part, what does it do is transfer the whole data into binary data into a string type, it will convert. Whereas at the other end, when it is said to be received, it is said to be decoded. It is nothing but once again it will be converted back into a normal form. So encoding changes your data, any of the format, to a string type which is not understandable, but that string type once again it will be converted into a binary format which is said to be understood by that particular receiver system. Then it is said to be your decoding. Okay, this base64 encoding, you can check out an example here. You have certain normal text here, whichever text which is being given, the encoded text, the whole text, it will be encoded in such a way that it is not said to be understandable by a normal human being. Okay, everything, whatever information which is being used, everything it will be transferred back to a base64 through the help of a encoder and the decoder of the base64. Okay, it will be converting to that format. Later it will be once again decoded back. Okay, another main usage of this MIME is you can send large messages, and you can send a large message which will be splitted back into a smaller one, smaller parts. When you are said to be transferring over the line or over the internet, your information will be splitted back into smaller parts. That smaller parts are being done through the help of the MIME. Okay, the messages whichever are said to be divided into multiple parts, it is called as multi-part message. Okay, this multi-part messages have the following MIME content is the multi-part related and multi-part mixed. Okay, mixed is nothing but it was said to be jumbled, mixed everywhere, and it will be got back in the normal format. Related is nothing but in certain format it will convert that it is said to be understandable by the people. That is said to be related. And mixed is nothing but it will be mixed, which will not be understood by anyone. Okay, so these and all things which you have learnt in this MIME. What is MIME? It is nothing but a multi-purpose mail extension protocol which is being used mainly for the purpose of uh, the content representation. Okay, content representation, it may be any of the format, text, PDF, or any of the format, it will be there. And that content which is there, whichever it is that to be accepted, it will be in the base64 format. Okay, binary it will be converting into string type, string to once again binary it will convert it. And whereas it has a part where it is sending the messages in the bigger format to a smaller parts, it will be divided and it will be sent and received. It is maybe in the related format or in the mixed format. This is your MIM. Okay, so in today's session you have learned about what do you mean by an URL, and you have learned about the MIM. Okay, thank you.